Hello, everybody. Welcome to World Border Breakers with Taiwanda Bason. We're so glad that you're able to join us today. For those of you who are joining us now and those who may come in later or you may watch the replay of today's broadcast, we will have a question and answer session at the end. So make sure you jot your questions down in the comment section, and we'll see if we can get to some of those at the end of the session. And if not, we'll be checking the comments later on and try to respond to some of your questions as well. Today, we have joining us Michele E. Jones, educational consultant. She is the other half of the Keeping Up with the Joneses husband and wife team. And they are providing you with the tools that you need to manage your best life abroad. So thank you for joining us today, Michele.
Well, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Yes. And so we're going to go ahead and get into those questions with Michele. So first of all, because some of our viewers are abroad already, others may be planning to go abroad, I would like to know, first of all, where are you from?
I am originally from the Bronx, New York. That's where I was born, lived there for 8 years. Then moved to Plainfield, New Jersey, and was there for 5 years. And then we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I continue to reside now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. And have you traveled abroad?
I have, not extensively. I've done some islands. I've been to Aruba, the Bahamas, Jamaica, and our American island, Hawaii.
Okay, awesome. Hawaii seems to be a nice place to go. That's what I hear from most people.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so, with more than 20 years experience in education and prestigious appointments and honors, including being a member of the Georgia Superintendent's Teacher Advisory Committee, having been a national board certified teacher, and voted Teacher of the Year, not one, but multiple times, okay, at the schools that you have worked at. Yes, so you have a lot of accolades that come with you. But I want to know, what is something our viewers might be surprised to know about you?
Well, honestly, teaching, I never even thought about doing it. That was the furthest thing from my mind. When I was in college, I went to Hampton University and I had to take a speech class to learn how to develop my skills talking in front of a group of people. So teaching definitely was not my thing. I feared being in front of crowds, in front of people and talking because I wanted to make sure I sounded articulate, that I knew what I was talking about. So I just had this fear. Another interesting thing leading to that, I got an accounting internship with the telephone company in Virginia, which led me after graduation to become a sales auditor for Macy's. How that all comes together is very strange because my degree is in psychology. So no one ever thought that I would become a teacher, but I was kind of overworked because when I was a sales auditor for Macy's, they were going through bankruptcy. So we had to audit the books every single night. And sometimes we'd be there all night long because the next day we get more boxes of receipts to audit. So it was a very challenging job. It was good money, but it wasn't fulfilling. I was not at home a lot and I just really got tired. And a friend of mine managed an after school program in a school. And she told me, Michele, why don't you come? You could be a counselor. I was like, no, I can't. I don't do children, not like that. And the funny thing is, I was going to go to one school and they had about 20 kids. And then their director quit at another school. And when I got there, there was 100 kids in the cafeteria needing an adult to organize and supervise them.
Wow.
So I just went into gear. And since then, the principal acknowledged what I had done. And she encouraged me to become a paraprofessional because then I could see if that's what I wanted to do. But a lot of other people saw that gift in me, but I didn't see it. But after I worked with the children in the after school program and I talked with parents, it was really something that I thought I wanted to do. So I became a paraprofessional. And after that, I went and got certified to teach. And that is all I've done my entire life, and something I'm very, very passionate about.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, it's an untraditional track to the teaching profession.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And I can see how, even though you said you couldn't see how the psychology part like played in, I think you needed it for all of them, especially during the bankruptcy time. Like you said, it was a challenging,
Absolutely.
A challenging situation, and everything that you learned through those other experiences, you were able to apply, like when you were teaching.
Yes.
Okay. So how about you tell us a little bit more about your experience as a teacher?
All right. Well, like you said, I've been teaching for 24 years, started as a paraprofessional. My first teaching position was in a GNES program, which is the Georgia Network for Educational and Therapeutic Support. And we serve students who had severe emotional behavior disorders and autism. And that's where I met Miss Taiwanda. But I was there about 12 years. I kind of took a break and went into the general ed school and taught resource, where kids would come from their regular classrooms to me for math or reading. So I did that for about 2 years, but there was just something I was missing. So I went back to that program and worked there as a classroom teacher. I've taught kindergarten through 11th grade. I've worked with multiple disabilities, students with autism, students who have emotional behavior disorders, specific learning disabilities, mild intellectual disabilities. And I also, after I was doing that, became an instructional supervisor, an instructional change coach, a PBIS coach, which all of that basically encompasses helping teachers to balance instruction and behavior in their classroom, and implementing frameworks that help them to be successful with their students and to help students to be successful. After that, I went back into the classroom in another county, started teaching a resource program in the resource program, and I also co-taught. So I pulled kids out, but then I also went into classrooms, and I did that from 2nd to 5th grade. Currently, I'm a behavior intervention coach at my school. And what that means is I work with assistant principals and discipline in the school building. I also work with PBIS there, and really just trying to help the culture and climate of the school to make sure that teachers are supported with any behavioral issues that they have, provide them with trainings that will help them be more successful in the classroom. I also work with individual students and groups of students, because, nowadays we don't really teach social skills. And what I'm finding, some of the older kids, they just don't even know how to communicate with each other. So I kind of work with them on how to get along, how to work cooperatively, to kind of keep them out of trouble. I also do a little bit of part-time work with ABC Mouse, which is an online platform that supports pre-K students up to 8 years old in all content areas. And there I am a curriculum advisor for them. So yeah, I've done quite a bit.
Awesome.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you've had experience in a lot of different areas, and you've been able to, like you said, you didn't start off thinking you were going to be a teacher. You didn't start off in that way.
Right, not at all. And it's interesting where my career, how it's been. When I look all the way back, I was always interested in psychology, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And I think there was just a plan out there that it sent me straight into teaching. And I would not do anything else unless it's in education. Nothing else in the world gives me the joy, that I have when I'm teaching students and working with teachers. So awesome. I'm glad I worked for Macy's and had to quit so that I could work with the children.
Yes, and I see where your psychology background, like you said, now you're helping with the culture, the climate in the school, and so I think that's where the psychology piece comes in. You didn't know it at the time, but
right.
But now it does. And as a matter of fact, I think you sharing your story now that you did start off in that area, you didn't know exactly where you were going to go. I think this will encourage like a lot of our viewers right now who may they may not have teaching experience, and so, but they
Right.
may want to teach abroad or even teach like in their home country, but they may think, I don't have experience. That you can. There are ways that you can, and Michele is proof of that it can happen. And not only that, but it can blossom into something bigger than what you actually think. She has all these honors and accolades, and she's working with these ABC Miles, and helping all these different people, teachers and students, home and abroad. So let this be encouragement to you guys. If you are doubting whether you can be a teacher if you don't have any experience starting off. Now, as an educational consultant, can you tell us what areas of expertise do you focus on?
Sure. I focus on behavior management, classroom management, special education, multiple disabilities, as well as coaching and mentoring aspiring teachers, new teachers, or veteran teachers. So that's my focus at this time.
Wow. And that will be good for, again, a lot of our viewers who are going abroad. If they don't have experience, you'll be a good go-to person to help them with that. And even those who have experience in their home countries, sometimes it's a totally different thing when you go into another country and trying to teach there and dealing with things like behavior, which goes into what we're going to talk about today. We're going to take a look at behavior management, again, which is something a lot of teachers have a problem with in their home countries and even abroad. Now, I want to ask you, Michele, how important would you say it is to a teacher's success in the classroom when it comes to behavior management?
It's essential. If you have poor behavior management, that can ruin your entire year, stress you out. It's a done deal. It's very difficult to teach if you don't have behavior management skills. Because before students can learn anything, they have to be able to listen. They have to be able to follow directions. They have to respect you as the adult in the room. So it is key. I would say that is the number one issue that we look at in classrooms where students are failing, where they're not performing the way that they should. We have to look at sometimes the behavior management that's going on in the classroom.
And I concur with you on that. After having taught in the U.S. and going abroad, like you said, if you don't have that behavior management, like in the beginning, I mean, possibly you can get it like later on, but if you lack that, you're probably not gonna have anything going on, especially if you're working with little kids and because that first impression in a classroom, it sets the tone for the entire school year. And if you're not organized, and if you don't know how to deal with students that could become disruptive that very first day, they're going to learn how you respond. And if you don't have a plan, then they are going to take that as we run the class because my teacher doesn't have a plan. That can be disastrous. Yes, exactly. And that's from all of them, the little ones, and I found from the big ones too.
Yeah, absolutely. The big ones, they're just bigger. They got the same thing going on. They just a little taller and eat more. That's all.
Oh, okay. So for some, they may not actually recognize the term behavior management, especially if they didn't study in the area of education. So can you tell us exactly what behavior management is and how it's different from classroom management?
Well, behavior management is more so the people managing in the classroom. So what you do is you decide what behaviors are going to be expected in the room and then what behaviors are not going to be expected. Basically, your tolerance level, how the children should move around, the noise level, how you handle disruptions, how you handle any defiant behavior, but also how you reward students who are doing what's expected, who meet the expectations each and every day. When you have classroom management, that's mainly talking about how your classroom runs. So that's talking about when the kids come in the morning, what are they doing? Are they hanging up their book bags, sharpening their pencils, starting their morning work? You have to have and develop rituals and routines. So your classroom management is more so managing the space and the materials and how the classroom runs so that it's a smooth transition throughout the day. Behavior management is basically the people managing what your children are supposed to be doing that meet your expectations in the classroom.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. And why do you think students misbehave?
Um, I think a lot of students, especially now, they misbehave because they're seeking attention or they just have poor social skills. That's just kind of the societal answer. There are other students who misbehave because they're lacking the skills in communication, or they lack skills in academic areas. We always say that sometimes students would rather you know that they can be bad and not know that they can't read. And so when it comes to reading time, they're going to act out so that they can avoid letting you know that they cannot read. So I think those are like the main reasons, but a lot of it is that they just want attention. They don't know how to communicate and they have poor social skills and they just lack in other areas.
Okay, I agree with that. And what is the most difficult type of student that you have had to handle?
Whew, I've handled quite a few in my years, but I think the most difficult student is one that's not motivated. They're not motivated to learn. They don't want to be in school. I tell teachers a lot of times that disruptive behavior is not only verbal and physical. Sometimes you don't see the outward behaviors. For example, if you have a student that's constantly calling out, that's a behavior that's disruptive, but you can teach that student your expectation of raising the hand, waiting for others to talk, and then they speak, things like that. But when you have a student that's not motivated, you have to give them and teach them the tools to use and try to encourage them and engage them in school or in the lesson. And that takes a lot of work. You know, if a child curses, we give them some alternative words to say. We maybe talk to the family and see what they've been around, what movies they're watching, video games and things like that. When a child is unmotivated, that means that they don't care. And that's a deep rooted issue that takes a lot of work and tools to help them to become motivated.
Okay. And what are some key factors to be considered for effective behavior management?
Well, the first thing is the relationship. I mean, we always say relationship is primary. If you don't have a good relationship with the student or the parents of the student, you can kind of forget being able to manage them at all in the classroom because they're not going to respect you. A lot of my students, I find out at the beginning of the year, some of their interests, so that when I'm teaching them, I can include that in instruction. I call their families, find out a little bit about them so that I can kind of get them on my team. So when I do have to make a difficult phone call, they've already spoken to me. I've already made some positive interactions. And then they'll, oh, Miss Jones, we'll take care of him as soon as he gets home. How dare he disrespect you? So building relationships is primary. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Then after that, you need to know your tolerance level. If you walk in any school, it can be in the States, it can be abroad, you'll see various teaching styles. You'll see some teachers who want their students in a desk listening to a lecture, and that works for them. But then you see other teachers who don't mind a little murmur in the classroom, don't mind getting up and walking around. So you have to determine your tolerance level and then teach that to the kids so they know what's expected. Because you can't really be upset with a student who just yells out, but you haven't set the expectation that they need to raise their hand at a certain time. So you have to kind of set that up for them. Always have a plan. Now, being in education, your plans change daily, They change every hour. It just depends on what's going on, the schedule, the students, but always have a plan.
Yeah.
And stick with that plan, whatever it is. Even if you change it from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, have a plan and be strong in that plan. The other thing is to be consistent. We lose a lot of students and they become disruptive because we're not consistent. We set rules in place and then we allow students to negotiate and, well, I'll do it next time. And we bribe and do things that not necessarily are conducive to what we're looking for. So I would just say to be consistent. And then the last thing is to state exactly what you want as opposed to telling them what you don't want. Because if you tell a child not to call out and you don't give them the alternative, you can't expect that all children know what they're supposed to do. So you have to tell them, okay, you know what, instead of calling out, I need you to raise your hand because in this classroom, if you call out, I won't be able to hear what you have to say. What you have to say is important. So we must raise our hand. And then you go through the steps to show them what they need to do. So those are just kind of some of the key factors that I think have really helped me in my classroom and help teachers when I tell them those things.
Those are really good. Those are things that I also follow as well, and they are very important, like you said. If you don't tell them what you want, how are they supposed to know?
Right.
Yes. So it's not really the fault of the student, but of the educator in that case. And so, in your experience working with and consulting both American and foreign educators in the USA and abroad, what seems to be some of the common classroom behaviors that pose a problem for teachers?
There are two that are kind of general, defiance and disruption. So with defiance, there are children, and I mean it's global. Disruption and defiance are international. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, they're going to look the same. They're going to look the same. Defiance is, I don't respect authority. I'm not going to follow these directions. And in some countries, depending on the culture, they're not necessarily taught that they have to mind teachers or follow the teachers' direction. So sometimes it's a little bit harder. And it depends on the respect level for teachers. So defiance has been a problem. Respect has been a problem, and that goes in with the defiance. Some children come to school, even in the US, and they feel like they can do what they want to do. They've not been able to transition from home to school. And so that's hard. And sometimes it may just be because they're used to having things a certain way. So when they get to school and they don't have it that way, it confuses them. And so they are defiant. And so you almost have to teach them, well, if you do that at home, that's for home. And then here at school, we have different expectations. And sometimes I tell my kids, and now if you do that at home, you need to learn that that's not okay at home either. You shouldn't do that. You need to listen to your mother or listen to your father. With disruptions across the board globally, there's always a function for that disruptive behavior. Children are not disruptive just because that's what they feel like doing. There's always a function for it. So what I find globally is that children are either trying to avoid something or someone, they're trying to obtain something or someone, they're looking for attention, or they're trying to avoid something or to escape. Those are the reasons why children have disruptive behaviors. And I found that globally across the board.
Okay. I would agree too. After having taught in several different countries, including the USA, those are two of the main issues that teachers deal with. And for those of you who may be joining us mid interview, I want to thank you for joining us and reintroduce. We are speaking with Michele E. Jones, educational consultant, half of the Joneses team, keeping up with the Joneses. And so today she's sharing with us about classroom behavior management. And I want you to know that if you have questions, remember to jot those down in the comments, and we'll see if we can get to those at the end of the session or later on when you're watching the replay. Okay. So my next question, Michele, why do teachers find it difficult to manage behavior?
I think it's mainly because coming out of school or going the untraditional route, they just don't have the tools for the behavior. We learn a lot in school about instruction. We learn a lot about the pedagogy. We learn a lot about resources and tools that we need to teach content, but we don't learn about those same tools to teach, how to behave and what's expected in the classroom. A lot of times, and this phrase has been said many times before, if a child can't read, we teach them how to read. But if a child can't behave, we punish them. We don't teach them. And so I think teachers are not getting the tools that they need coming out of school to manage the behaviors. And also, we're in a data-driven society now. We're talking about standardized testing, and we're trying to prepare students for university and kindergarten. I mean, it's the whole track of this rigor, but we're not balancing the behavior with the academics because all of our children do not fit in a box. Yeah. And we have a generation of teachers who are teaching students in different styles, in different ways that they were taught. And so it becomes really challenging to manage the behaviors because when they were in school, they didn't see those behaviors. So they didn't have any models even early on, to help them. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it's just really hard because we just really focus on academics, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but there has to be a balance. Because again, if they're misbehaving, if they're getting suspended, if they're in in-school suspension, if they're getting expelled from school, we're not helping them learn at all. And they're getting what they want, because if they were trying to avoid the work, if they're suspended, they're not working. Yeah. And sometimes it works, sometimes it's powerful, but I think teachers just need tools before they get into the classroom to help them manage behaviors. And we have to be honest with our new teachers and let them know that it's going to be different and it's going to be challenging, and society plays a big role in what we have in our schools, because our schools are just a small branch of our communities. And so if you have a community that's struggling, you're going to have a school that's struggling. So we kind of have to look at it that way.
Yes. And okay, so along those lines, what would you say are some do's and don'ts of behavior management?
Some do's and don'ts. I kind of touched on it before. Do be consistent. Even if you have to tweak the plan, but have a plan. Yeah. And decide what your non-negotiables are, what you're just not going to tolerate. And then make sure that the students know, and don't waver on that. So the don't of that, I would just not negotiate with students. If you have a plan, make sure you stick with the plan. I would develop expectations and rules ahead of time. And sometimes, depending on cognitive level of the students or the age, I would let them, and I would guide them, but let them come up with the expectations and rules for the classroom. And maybe have about 3 to 5. Do not have more than 7. Yeah. Like I would not want to be a student walking in the classroom and have 20 things that my teacher said I'm not supposed to do. Because then I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. So one of the do's also with that would be write your expectations in a positive way. State what you want to see. Don't state what you don't want to see, because then that just creates a negative environment. And of course, what I would do is for every negative comment that you have to make, whether it's a correction for behavior or academics, try to find 5 positive statements, because the students are always going to remember that negative statement, and they're going to start to feel like they can't do anything right, they can't please, and then you're going to start having an unmotivated child. So you have to make sure that you kind of balance it out. For every one negative comment, try to find 5. And it can be just simple as, thank you for staying on task. You wrote your name correctly. I like the way you got yourself back together. Something to kind of help them be motivated. And of course, always build positive relationships. The don't is not to take their behaviors personally. Yeah. They come to you with whatever is going on, and you're just molding them. They're not, even if it looks like they're targeting you and it feels like they're targeting you, those behaviors come from another place. So if you don't take it personally, then your reactions will be more level-headed, and you'll try and find solutions as opposed to casting the child away or becoming discouraged yourself and being stressed out because you have a student that's being defiant or disruptive.
Yes. I know about that. So for those who are teaching abroad for the first time, and even some who are teaching for the very first time ever, what would you recommend that they do?
The first thing, regardless of where you are, is to try to understand the culture of the school. So when you are first hired and you go into a school, you want to understand kind of the do's and don'ts of the school. What's the expectation at the school? How do things work at the school? Because that will give you an idea of what's important at the school, what's accepted at the school, and how you can kind of navigate that and bring that into your classroom. Because if you have your neighbor teacher who already knows about the culture of the school and they are teaching a certain way or rewarding a certain way, giving out consequences a certain way, and you come in with your own way, it may conflict with the school's mission and vision. And so you need to know what the school culture is so that your administrators can support you, your colleagues can support you, and that everything is consistent language across the board so that they know how to better support you. I would also say that you need to find out about the demographics about your school. And I don't know, like when you go abroad, if you're able to know what area you'll be teaching in. But it's very, very important to know what resources parents have available to them, because you may work at a school where parents don't have access to technology, or they don't have access to books or libraries or any resources outside of school. So when you send homework home and it doesn't come back, you're not constantly giving consequences to the student because you don't realize that that's not what happens in that culture, or that's not what happens at home. Because there are some places, like in Thailand, there may be 40 kids in the classroom and being timely is not of the essence. And some schools pass their kids, whether they pass or fail. And so the kids don't feel like they need to work. And so they won't work. So you have to understand those things so that you know how to work around that before it becomes a problem. And then to the contrary, in China, where teachers are respected and kids are taught to respect teachers, it's a totally different culture in the school. And so you just need to understand, what's taking place in that culture. I would also understand the religions in the different regions where you're teaching, because there are different rules for discipline based on the religion. And you need to know that so you're not offensive, but also so that you have the support of those parents. So just really understanding the culture of the school and also the culture of the community where you're teaching.
Yes, that's very true. After having gone to different countries, even within the same country, like you said, know the community. So it's not always just that country either. But when I was in Saudi Arabia, I saw that, especially when it came to behavior, I was able to look back on it. And then I also asked students, because I wanted to find out, why are you like this? At the university level. But I realized, okay, having taught in like the capital city, then taught in more rural areas, there's a totally different culture. Like for women in each one. And
Mm-hmm.
so education wasn't, or probably wasn't seen as important in the rural
Excuse me.
areas as
Right.
in major city, because women didn't really have many jobs that they could, work at in general,
Right.
in Saudi Arabia at that time. And you take it to a rural area where it's like a small town, they got like one shopping mall or shopping center,
Mm-hmm.
maybe one one bank, then definitely they don't have opportunities to work, so they wouldn't see the value in education or know about it.
Right.
So,
And that's
which
important, what you're saying, because teaching abroad and teaching here in the States, depending on the area, you also have to know the availability and the opportunities that the kids have now and for the future, so you can prepare them for that, and maybe even expose them to things that they would not have had exposure to if it was not for a teacher. So it's a
Mhm.
very important role. Culture is very, very important.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, and it's along the lines of culture. Can you share an example of an educator you've helped abroad?
Sure. So one most recently was in Rija in Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
and she was an academic supervisor, but was having some difficulty helping the teachers help the children.
Hmm.
The discipline was not very good because a lot of the students that were there really did not have connections with their parents. They
Hmm.
had nannies that took care of them, and they had no respect at all, for some of these women. And
Hmm.
so it carried over into the school. Um, and after talking with the academic supervisor, realizing that it wasn't necessarily the children, but it was the teachers, some of them who had kind of thrown their hands in the air and just said, well, they're not going to respect me, so I don't know what to do. And the children felt that. And
Hmm.
so it just escalated. And she told me a couple of times she had to pull the kids into her office because they just would not listen to the teachers, but she was able to talk to
Yeah.
them and get somewhere with them. And that was because she established a relationship.
Hmm.
So what I did for them was I provided them with some PowerPoints on motivating students, behavior and classroom management, also some resources that they could go to help build reward systems in their classrooms. I also did help a little bit with some instruction because there were some children who had difficulty academically.
Hmm.
And they don't necessarily have special education programs like we have in the States. So they're all inclusive in one class. But the
Hmm.
teachers did not have all the tools to kind of help those students. So I provided that kind of service to them as well. Um, and we communicated very frequently, and it seemed to help the teachers because there were just some things that they had not tapped into because
Hmm.
of how their school was structured and where they were. So I think they benefited, from the conversations that we've had, and it helped the students to at least respect them,
Yeah.
more, because they started kind of stepping outside of themselves and not looking at it as they come to school every day and are disrespectful to me, but
Yeah.
just trying to teach them why it was important to come to school, why it was important to respect others, and gave them information that they could take home with them and hopefully help their parents as well.
Hmm.
It was quite an experience because it's very different, um, in Saudi Arabia
Yeah.
compared to the US in schooling.
Hmm. Yes, yes, it is. And it's good that you bring that up. Like you said, many of the teachers at her school had kind of like just thrown their hands up. The kids recognized
Mm-hmm.
that, and they were just like, you know what? I don't care. We're just gonna do
Right.
whatever. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we have many educators like that across the board, whether they're in the USA,
Mm-hmm.
other countries too. So, for those who are already in the classroom, and they do feel like their students are just out of control, they lost hope.
Yeah.
And do you think that it's possible for them to turn things around?
Absolutely. If they come back each and every day, then they can turn it around. I know a lot of teachers who just feel defeated at the end of the day. They question why they're teaching. They don't want to come back. It's either the kids or me kind of thing. But you can always turn it around if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to listen. It's kind of like a computer. When you have a laptop, if it freezes on you or does some crazy stuff, you can shut it down. You can reboot it. And for some reason it works. Your phones, you can do the same thing. I've rebooted my phone so many times, but I still have it and it's still working. And so you can do that with your classroom. You can reboot, you can start over. Now you won't tell the kids that you lost your mind and you have to reboot and start over again. You don't ever tell them that, but you can just make some changes and let the kids know, we're going to do something a little different because I want you to be more successful. But in the back of your mind, you might be saying, because this was not working for me. So we got to do something different. And it's okay. It is okay. And I always put humor in it with my teachers because I am an advocate for teacher retention. I want teachers to stay in a profession because you got into it knowing what was ahead of you, knowing what you faced. And I feel bad when teachers leave because I know, well, there was one more thing we could have done to help that teacher stay. So I do think that you can turn things around because children follow adults' leads. Even if they're defiant, if you're consistent and show structure and care, they will eventually come around. So absolutely, I think you can definitely turn things around. I've turned things around quite a bit in my years. Definitely.
Definitely, and they, like you said, they are aware. Because sometimes they'll become like the teacher. They know they if they feel like the teacher is like they are losing hope, and that kid, they know that you care. They'll become a teacher and start policing the other kids. And
absolutely. Absolutely. I think every kid in school has something in them that says, I'm going to own this classroom by the end of this school year. And it's our job to make sure that they are not successful in that. Because that's what happens to the substitutes. Substitutes come in and your quiet, well-behaved class, they turn into something totally different. That's because it's always there. Because they know teachers have a certain amount of tolerance and a certain level that they can get to. They can't do what your parents can do. So they know. So they test those limits. And if you let them push those buttons, if you let them get to you, they're going to have you. That's for sure.
Adam singing, wait in the water.
Absolutely. Putting oils on the door and everything else. Yes, indeed.
Oh, okay. So it's good that you brought that up as well, about the teachers who just they give up and then they may just go ahead and leave. Now we're aware again that not all things are for everyone. So how can a teacher recognize if they're just not good at behavior management, but they can get the training and resources like you've mentioned to become stronger in that area, as opposed to teaching is just not the right fit for them?
I have encountered a few in my day who just said, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing next school year, but I am not going to be teaching this class. So I would go with the latter first. So, teaching is not for you if you question whether or not it's worth your family because you want to walk out, you want to leave the job. You get so frustrated and stressed. And it's every day, but you don't do anything to change it. You come into the classroom angry in the morning. You take it out on the kids. You blame the kids, but you're not willing to change anything. Then it may not be for you. If you find yourself on a level 5, we have the 5-level scale when it comes to voice levels in the classroom. If you find yourself on a level 5 every single day, teaching may not be for you. If your kids don't want to be in your classroom, And, you know, there is a difference between she's mean, but they do exactly what you tell them to do because they know you care about them. They just know you're a little harder than some of the other teachers. Then I don't feel comfortable in that teacher's classroom. I'm not learning. I don't want to go in there because that has happened. Then those are teachers that they may need to find something else to do, because we're going to get students who are disruptive every day, defiant every day. But that's a call for help. And they come to school for that help. Because if they were getting all of that they needed at home, they wouldn't come to school like that. So that's our opportunity to help those students. And so students who, well, not students, teachers who have difficulty with behavior management and they know it, those teachers who go and they seek help, they are able to accept constructive criticism. They take feedback when you tell them this is what you need to implement, and then they go and they try it. They're consistent. Then those are the teachers that maybe it is difficult, but they study and they try and they do better. Honestly, I'm terrible at math. I don't like math. Math is the devil. It's always been a problem for me. But I had to study it because I did not want my students to know that, because if they knew that, they would not like math. So I couldn't go into it going, oh man, I got to teach y'all this math today. I couldn't do that. And so I put myself into situations to learn more about math. And what am I doing now? Part-time teaching math to third and second grade. That's it. I don't teach reading. I don't teach writing. I'm teaching math. And so some of the content I'll have to review, but I'm able to teach it and they're able to enjoy it and they're engaged. It's the same thing with behavior management. You have to read. You have to look at articles. You have to understand the makeup of your students. You have to go to your colleagues and be comfortable asking for help. Go and observe if you get a chance. So I know that's the hardest thing right now for teachers to do, is to step out of their classroom and observe another class. And if we could do that, I think a lot of teachers would be more comfortable in their own classroom. But if you're willing to do all of those things and come back and try again, then you can still be successful, even if you continue to not like even dealing with behavior management. If you get some tools and the help that you need, you'll be fine.
Okay, that's really good. And like you said, being able to observe some other classes helps. I know in career, one of the things they do is maybe not as often, not so much, but they have open classrooms. And in those cases, they have ones for parents, but then they also have the ones for teachers. So, for instance, in the district that I was in, you had teachers coming from other schools, and they give them that time, during the day where they can go to another school and observe that teacher give like a mock class, and then afterwards they will usually have a type of presentation, and they can ask questions. Just can present strategies or different things like that. So I thought that was kind of cool, especially for the new teachers and things, that they had that in place.
Absolutely, because we're always in our classroom with our students and we never get to see what's going on outside. And we're kind of like sheltered, but we're all expected to do the same thing. And you can't do that if I can't observe someone who's doing what I'm doing, because they may have a better way. They may have more resources. And so it's really difficult if you can't observe, but I think that's great.
Yes. And okay, so what is, like, at least one, if you want to, like, a couple, at least one behavior management technique that you can share that might be useful to our viewers?
I would say developing 3 to 5 expectations. So you have expectations and rules. So your expectations will be what you expect your students to do. And then the rules would be how they would do it. So you may have an expectation about being respectful. That's your expectation. So the rules would be raise your hand if you'd want to talk. It may be something like following directions, walking quietly in the hallway. I mean, different
Yeah.
Different rules that demonstrate that you're meeting the expectations. And I think if you do that and you set those rituals and routines up that first day of school and
Exactly.
practice them, that's important. You can't just set them up, give them to the kids. You have to practice. So what does it look like when you raise your hand? Because you know, Taiwanda, when kids raise their hand, Miss Basin, Miss Basin, Miss Jones, Miss Jones, they're raising their hand and they're calling our name. Well, we don't want them to do that. So you have to say, all right, so what does it look like when we raise our hand? We raise our hand, we have our lips zipped, we wait to be called on. So I would definitely, if you do that right there, you will have a great start to your school year. And then everything else can kind of fall into place, like having a reward system, just the daily routines in the classroom. But definitely just 3 to 5, nothing too much, but 3 to 5.
Yes, that's good. And like you said, to demonstrate it to them. Reading doesn't always mean that it connects with them and they forget things. But if you go through it, kind of like showing by example,
Right.
that does help. And yes, I definitely do know. In the beginning, it will help a lot. It'll save you heartache. Heartache, headache.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't jump in a car and then read the manual on how to drive. You kill yourself. It's the same thing in the classroom. You need to know what you're doing before you jump in, so that you can, move forward without having to backpedal the entire time. Because it's harder to bring them and reel them back in than it is to correct behaviors that you already expect.
Exactly. And so for those who may be watching now, or if they're watching this later, whether they are teaching in their home countries or abroad, how can they contact you individually? Or let's say if they are a teacher that is abroad, could be in the U.S. as well, and they're at a school, and like you mentioned, you help the other educator abroad, like at her school, you help them with instruction and behavior management, kind of gave them some things. If they feel like, hey, it's not only them that needs the help, but the entire school, how can they get in contact with you or share information that are in charge of that at their school if they want to have you to come in? I don't know. Well, going abroad, I don't know about.
I don't know. I have to bring everybody with me.
Online. Oh, okay. Online. If they will, they'll send like the flight ticket and like pay for everything. But
yeah.
but we know definitely you can do it online or by phone. So how can they get in contact with you?
Right now, the two best ways are by email, mejonesed@gmail.com, or on WhatsApp at 404-457-8713. And soon, I'm getting into social media and things like that. So those platforms will be launching pretty soon. But those are the two ways that you can best contact me immediately. And I'll do my best to respond within 12 to 24 hours.
Okay, awesome. And so our viewers, they can see that information crawling across the screen right now. And yes, we'll be looking for the other contact information for them to know how to keep up with the Joneses. So
that's right.
Okay. Let's see. Do you have any closing advice you'd like to give?
Closing advice, no matter where you are in the world, if you have decided to teach, you just need to know that you are ordained to change the world, one student, one school, one family at a time. And you have a very, very important mission. You'll come up with some challenges, you'll face some adversity, but just know if you are consistent and if you have teaching in your heart, that it is all going to work out for the common good. So just stay encouraged. You're not the only one out there. I've been doing this for a long time. I help others. I still have my days where I'm just like, okay, is this what I want to do? But it is what I want to do. And so I just shake it off, and I find solutions, and I get back at it. And I just hope that everyone would stay encouraged no matter where you are. Teaching is universal because it's about improving a young person's life, to hopefully just build better communities and better countries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's powerful encouragement, I think, for everyone out there. And you guys take it to heart, okay?
All right.
Take it to heart. Again, like she said, you're not the only one out there. You're not the only one struggling if you feel like that. There are others out there as well, but there is hope. And Michele has shared a lot with you. So make sure, you go back if you didn't catch it from the beginning. You watch the whole interview for all the nuggets that she shared, and things that can help you. And again, her contact information is there. If you need to reach out to her for consultation and to share with the people, at the schools you're at. Say, hey, I know, I know someone who's phenomenal who can assist our school with this so that we can be successful and our kids can be successful.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's see. In the comments section, let's see. Oh, well, we don't have any questions in the comment section that I see, but I see that Deborah Ann stopped by, and she was with us, and she said, this is a great topic. So,
hey, well, thanks. Good. Yeah, it's a burning topic across education. And I think now we're just finally starting to address it and acknowledge that it is an issue. So, yeah, I think if we have more platforms like this and we can reach out and help each other, it's going to make a difference.
Yes, awesome. And I'm pretty sure people who watch it later will have questions, so we'll check the comments for that, and they'll be able to contact you as well, Michele. I want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your experience with us, taking the time out to do that.
Absolutely. This was a wonderful experience, and I thank you for allowing me to share my expertise and my experience. And I hope that everyone watching now or later on, whatever platform, that this was beneficial to you. And also, reach out to me if you need some encouragement, some resources. I'll be willing to help.
I'm telling you guys, Michele knows her stuff, and she can help you. Kendra just jumped in and she said she enjoyed it. She says, good points.
Thanks, Kendra.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because we'll be talking to the other half.
The other half. Absolutely. My husband.
Yes, the other half of keeping up with the Joneses. But for the end of this session, I want you guys to, Kendra said welcome. But I want you guys to know you can also reach out to me as well. And if you want to learn more about what I do and follow me as well, you can check me out at TaiwandaBason.com. or on Facebook and Instagram at Taiwanda Bason. So I'll see you guys in like about 2 minutes. So with the other half of Keeping Up with the Joneses. Again, thank you so much, Michele, for joining us.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yes, we look forward to having you back again in the future.
Definitely. I'd love to be back.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we're gonna, I guess, like switch out, like. Okay. If you want to turn. Right. If you want to turn.
Good night and good morning to everybody.
Thank you. Okay. And so, if you want to turn off the camera while you switch, or if you want to leave it on, it's up
all
to
right.
you.
I'll stop the camera. We'll make this smooth.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Wanda. Thank you for joining us. We're going to wait for the other half of Keeping Up with the Joneses. We just heard from Michele Jones, which is the other half of Keeping Up with the Joneses. And thank you guys for joining us today. So just give us like about a minute or so, and Rashidi Jones is going to join us.
Hey, Tawana, can you hear me? Okay.
Hello.
How you doing, Tawana?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good, good.
Good to see you. And welcome. This is World Border Breakers with Taiwanda Bason. Thank you guys for joining us for the second half of Keeping Up with the Joneses today. We heard from Michele Jones, educational consultant, earlier. And now we have her other half, Rashidi Jones,
Right.
wealth manager, joining us. So thank you for joining us today, Rashidi.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And hello to all.
You're very welcome. And you guys who are joining us right now, we want to appreciate you for coming on. And if you have any questions, remember you can jot them down in the comment section. And at the end of this session, we'll try to get to some of those. Also, if you're watching the replay, you can also come in as well. And we'll occasionally go back and check those comments and try to answer those for you as well. Again, thank you for joining us. And Rashidi, are you ready to go ahead and jump in here?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. So again, this is Rashidi Jones, wealth manager, and they're helping to provide you guys with the tools to manage your life abroad. Okay. Let's see. And we're going to go into our first question, which is, where are you from?
I'm originally from Miami, Florida. Went to Alabama A&M on accounting, majored in accounting, but on football scholarships. Of course, I had the dream of going pro. Didn't happen, so leaned back on my accounting degree, worked in accounting for about 15 years, moved to Atlanta after college. So I've been here since college, and been working in accounting. Kind of moved up the professional ladder, and not really a corporate kind of guy, just kind of my forte. So I was trying to find myself while working in my profession. And in 2008, when all the layoffs were taking place, my company was bought. That I was working for at the time was bought by a company in Dallas. So they had to they were relocating all the accounting functions. So my department got laid off. That was right when me and my wife got pregnant with our son Rajon. So naturally, I was highly upset.
Yeah.
And that's what geared me to start looking for something else that I could have control of myself instead of me depending on a job per se. Not to knock anybody out there that works for, 9 to 5 for corporate or teaching in this situation, but just me. So that's what kind of led me into being a financial planner. I'm a people's person with the finance background, kind of just everything kind of tied into, and I love helping people with retirement, with investments. I love that. It's a pleasure for me to watch them succeed.
Okay, awesome. That's a very good background of something I didn't know, which is cool. Now, have you traveled abroad?
No more than, like my wife said earlier, because we've done it together. Hawaii, Jamaica, the Caribbean islands, those type of things. Nothing into Europe or Asia, anything like that.
Okay, well, you went somewhere. You went across the water, which is awesome. Which is awesome too. Okay. So, well, you actually told us a little bit about your experience. Is there anything else that you would like to share about your experience?
Well, I have done tax preparation for individuals and businesses. That's 5 to 6 years of experience there. I had the entrepreneur bug in me, so I've done a lot of other things, but I'll keep everything kind of focused on the finance background. And what I've been doing now as a financial planner, wealth manager, I've been doing since 2013. I started in 2009, which I got licensed for about 5 licenses, which is Series 63, Series 65, Series 6, annuities, and health and life. And that was very important for me to attain so that when I talk to a family or individual, I can service their entire financial household. No matter what they need, I'm a one-stop shop. And I felt that was beneficial for myself as well as my clients.
Mhm. Okay. So that is awesome. Which I was going to ask you what you provide for your clients, and like you said, you are a one-stop shop for them.
You want me to go a little detail what I provide?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Any type of retirement solutions. So if you have a 401k or 403b with your company, I can provide the management for those particular plans to help you decide what investments or what stocks to invest in at any particular time, as well as annuities, health and life insurance, IRAs, you know, a plethora of things that I can kind of, everything is kind of individually kind of geared. So, but just in general, anything you need from a retirement investment standpoint, I can do, even real estate.
Wow. That's awesome to know. And it's good we're gonna have you back back here. Now for today, we're gonna be talking about retirement and life insurance, which you are an expert in those areas as well.
Yes.
Now for our viewers, can you tell them how important you would say that those are?
Okay, I'll start with retirement first. Basically, we all want to eventually get to a point where we do not have to work. If we choose to work, that's one thing, but having to work is a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
So while we're going through our years of working our profession, from 20 to 65, whatever your time frame is, you want to be able to put something aside so that when you get to the point where you want to retire, you have enough to retire on. Now, one of the big things that economists say is that we are living longer, basically because better quality of life, as well as medicine, things that will unfortunately affecting our elders and kind of, if you will, allowing them to be taken away from us too early. We can now go in, maybe have a surgery, maybe take a pill, maybe just start walking and exercising more. Therefore, we're living longer. So what that entails is, we have more years of retirement to fund. So they say we're going to easily live in the 90s. So if you think 65 to 90, that's 25 years.
Yeah.
25 years of not working, you need to have a substantial amount of money already set aside that you can live off of. And the other thing about it is we don't have all the resources that our elders had. For instance, they had pension plans, they had their retirement plans, they also had their own personal savings. That's what we call a three-legged stool. And I can kind of go into details with that maybe another time, but we really only have one. That's his personal savings and the 401k. Two, I'm sorry. We don't have the pension plans. If you're teachers, usually you do. That's one benefit of being an educator, but everyone else, we don't have access to all that. So there's different things that we had to do as an industry to kind of help our clients meet some of their retirement goals. And of course, when it comes to life insurance, I like to say people think it's important to insure your car, but not their lives. And just think about that. What's more important? What's more important? When you unfortunately have to pass away, you don't want your loved ones to have to deal with certain things. They're already dealing with grief, not the financial side of having to take care of you or that loss of income in that household. So just for a small amount of money, you can cover your family and kind of everything is at peace.
Yes, and that and the fact that you bring that up about life insurance, again, a lot of our viewers, maybe those who are planning to go abroad, to teach abroad, or maybe to work in another type of job. And one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on and talk about the life insurance and the retirement as well. But we've seen stories of people that they're either getting sick abroad. And there have been cases where people have actually died abroad, and because they may not have those things in place, it becomes an issue because now they're in another country, and some of them have had issues in terms of like their families being able to get their bodies back to their countries because expenses and other things like that. So definitely for those who, especially if they have family back home, that's something they want to think about. And quite a few of the jobs don't necessarily offer life insurance when you're abroad, especially like for teaching. Sometimes it may be retirement, but you're going to bring up some good points about the retirement thing a little bit later. Right. So, okay. So in this age of information and misinformation, being you're the expert, could you educate us on what retirement and life insurance are and what they are not?
Okay, I'll start with life insurance. Basically, it's exactly what it says. It's insurance on your life. So if something happens to you and you pass away, there's a certain amount of money that will go to whoever your beneficiary or beneficiaries are. There's different types. So you have types that are only in place for a certain amount of time, which is called term insurance. I only suggest that if you're in a bind, meaning you lost income within the household, or you don't have enough money right now to kind of pay for whole life. Term is a good product. But see, the problem with term is at one point it's going to go away. It's going to terminate. And the thing about insurance is every time you apply for insurance, you're going to be tested. So let's hypothetically say, I'll take myself, for instance. I'm a type 2 diabetic. So I wasn't prior to that until increased my insurance. And had I not had a whole life insurance policy already in place, I'd have to reapply and may not be able to get life insurance. It may deem me as uninsurable. And that depends on your sickness. I'm okay because I have type 2, but what I'm saying is other people deal with some more serious ailments and they don't have the insurance in place prior to, it can make you uninsurable. Whole life is the way to go, because no matter what happens, once it's in place, as long as you pay your premiums, it's going to be in place, no matter where you are in the world. And speaking to your situation, you're working abroad. I've already checked with my providers. It's not a problem. You put it in place before you go, but you put it in place if you're already over there. Everything is kind of built off what took place here in the U.S. You pay it through U.S. dollars, so everything is covered. But as I said, there's 3 different types of whole life, and I kind of will go into that maybe another time, you think, or should I go into it now?
You can, and it might answer the question that I have. Do all plans cover living abroad?
Okay. Yes, all plans do cover living abroad. Once you're insured, you're insured. There are 3 different types. You have a regular whole life, and let me back up. The difference between whole life and term is not just the fact that the whole life is in place based forever, but also you build a cash value. So you're able to basically get something back from that whole life if you need to borrow money against it, if you need to take out money. Now, when you bring that aspect into the situation, now that's why you have 3 different types of whole life insurance policies. We'll start with the first, regular whole life. Regular whole life is in place. You get a small amount of cash value built every year as you pay your premiums, but like I said, it's a small amount. The next one is the indexed life insurance policy. Works just like a whole life. It's in place. But the thing about this one is that cash value is built off of returns from the market, but it has a floor of 0, so you can't lose money. So, but you can't make but so much. Usually it's between 10 and 15%. So let's hypothetically say the market went up 10%, you get a 10% gain in your policy based on your cash value. Let's say it went up 20%. Like I said, it has a ceiling of 10, so you're only going to get 10. But let's say it dropped 15%. You won't make any money that year. But the key there is you won't lose money. And the key about index in any life insurance policy cash values is non-reportable to the IRS. So basically, this money is growing tax-free and it can be taken out for whatever reason you want to use at your liberty. Tax-free, no penalties, no anything. So literally you become your own bank as long as you're in a policy that you can kind of build a cash value on. And then the third is a variable life insurance policy, which operates just like the other ones, more so like the index life, where you can build a cash value a little faster. The only difference between the variable and the index is there's not a floor. So if the market drops, you can lose money. But then there's also not a ceiling. So if the market makes 30%, you can pick up at 30%. So those are 3 whole life insurance policies out there. And even if I have to come back on and kind of have a whole presentation on it to better explain it, I definitely can.
Okay. I'm pretty sure our viewers would like that and would benefit from that. So I guess, like, what about retirement?
Okay.
What is that, and what is it, and what is it not?
Retirement is just what it says again. It's basically allowing you to build some type of nest egg for you to retire on. And every situation is different. And let me say this too. Everything I'm speaking on is from a general standpoint. really, in order to service an individual, we have to sit down and have a conversation because everybody's situation is different. But with retirement, there's a vast amount of products and services out there. And I urge everyone, you need to have something working for you. I like to use the analogy, and nothing against anybody that does this, but I would hate to have to, me personally, be at Walmart and greeting people coming in because I need to make some extra income to subsidize my retirement. You need to take the time right now today and put some things in place so that when you get to, like I said earlier, get to the age that you want to retire, you can retire comfortably and confidently, sit back and relax. And whatever you want to do at that point, it's on you instead of having to do it. So that's what retirement is. To speak specifically to educators working abroad, educators anywhere. I know that when you work here in the U.S., most, if not all, school systems have some type of pension plan that's already in place, as well as a separate individual 403B plan, which is what they call it, which is the same as a 401k plan that you can kind of put some extra money aside and help and build that nest egg. Well, to speak to the pension plans, when you leave your school system, that plan is going to go dormant at some point, whether it's right away or 2 or 3 years after that. So whatever money you've accumulated up to that point, it's going to stop. If you're working, you need that money to continue working for you. So I always tell people, hey, you need to find another place for that. And that's where I'm going to speak this specific product, index annuities. It works just like a pension plan. As the money grows, once you get ready to start taking out, you're going to get paid out a monthly income, just like your pension plan would from your school board employer.
Okay.
But what this does allow you to take that same pension plan that would have been dormant and not growing, take that money, put it into this product. It continues to grow and will operate the same as that pension plan. And then at the same time, you still have IRA, which is an individual retirement account, which is the same as a 401k or 403b. It's just for the individual.
Okay.
So those are two of the main products that basically I think everyone should take advantage of. Now, to piggyback on that, one thing we also need to do is to put something in place to help you manage your money, help you decide where to put your money. Me personally, I'm an accountant, and back in 2008 when I was going through, when the market was dropping and I was losing money in my 401k, I tried to move my money around. Didn't have the expertise to do it, but felt because I had a financial background, I could. Well, in losing money, basically, I realized that, hey, I need to find someone that knew how to kind of manage my money better than I did. And that's what brought me to what's called active money management. And there again, I can have another conversation to go in great detail about that. But basically, to sum up, an active money manager, they basically believe in being offensive in good markets and defensive in bad markets. So as long as the market's good, they're going to be trading in whatever is good for you. When that market turns bad, they're going to take your money out of the market and put you in something safe, like a real safe bond or a money market fund. The key there is you're not losing money. You're not making money, but you're not losing money while the market's dropped. When the market starts going positive again, they'll jump back in with your money and start investing. So we use that professional money management on all of our accounts that we can for our clients. So there's things that you can do and put in place to kind of help you maximize your gains.
Okay, that's awesome. And I was actually going to bring up, because we do have some educators that go abroad that do have experience. So they've been working in the school system where they are, and they may have that retirement or that pension, like you said. So I was wondering if that would kind of like transfer abroad. Do they need to what they need to do? But I think you kind of may have answered that for us, if they had it in place when they were there. Right. When they go abroad.
Right. Whether you're working abroad at whatever point, that money is still, or that account is still open with your previous employer. At any point in time, you can transfer that, and it will still, with going through me, of course, would be here in the U.S. You have access online and everything, but regardless, you're working abroad or in the U.S., that is something you can put in place for yourself.
Okay. So having you in place, you could assist them with managing that while they're gone. Okay, so let's say when they do go abroad, there are some places that do provide retirement, and then sometimes life insurance. It just kind of depends on where they are. So
Mhm.
if they're in that situation and they are working for an employer, a foreign employer that does provide those, should they be fine, or is there anything they should check into?
Well, when it comes to retirement, I'll speak to that first. Uh, Two things you need to think about. One is, does your employer abroad contribute to your plan themselves? Meaning, so it's a match. Whether it's a match to the top, the first 15, the first 10, the first five, do they match? If they don't,
Mm-hmm.
I always tell you the best thing to do is take your money and put it somewhere else. The reason being because employer sponsored plans only have a set amount of funds for you to invest in. So if you're going to invest,
Mm-hmm.
why invest in 10 or 15 funds when you can invest in the entire world?
Yeah,
So if they're not matching, there's no reason to put your money with that particular plan. The
yeah,
other thing is you need to have some management on that plan. As I said before, if you're a teacher, you're a teacher. That's your profession. We know what we know, and that's not to insult anybody. I was an
yeah.
accountant. I knew what I knew, but I did not know how to determine what stocks and bonds to be invested in at any particular time. There are services out here that basically you can get an email telling you need to be invested in this particular stock within your um, 403B plan
Mm-hmm.
abroad. So now you're not having to make that decision. You're getting emails telling you exactly what to do with your money. So there's things that you can put in place once again to help you manage those plans that are abroad.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, that's really good information to know. So, what particular retirement solution do you think would fit our viewers? Or is there? I know you said earlier that you have to kind of like talk to the person, so it's not the same for anyone. But if there
Right.
is like one that you would recommend.
Okay. One definitely is a good one. Is an index annuity, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the one that operates similar to exactly like your pension plan.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the thing about index annuity, and I'd love to go into this in more detail because index products are, the new age thing. It's something that was put in place to kind of service everyone's needs as far as trying to earn a lot of money, but at the same time to protect their money from losses. But an
Mm-hmm.
index annuity basically has a flow of zero, so you can't lose money.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the market makes in that particular year, that's what you're going to get. And at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, once you retire, start taking withdrawals, you'll get that set amount for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. So if I
Wow.
had $10,000 in my account, and let's just say I got $1,000 every year, just to give you round numbers. Well, if I live for 20 years, that's $20,000.
Yeah.
It's going to pay me $20,000, although I only had $10,000 in my account, which is the same way a pension plan works. And I have several past school board employees, and that's my go-to for them with their pension plans.
Yeah.
And at the same time, individual retirement account, an IRA, invest in stocks and bonds and or real estate. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said before, if your abroad employer is not matching, you need to have control of your own money so you can invest in whatever is
Yeah.
out there instead of 10 or 15 funds.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And yeah, we're definitely going to have to have you on again to share more of your
I'd love
wealth
to.
manager information. Like you just mentioned, the real estate piece, something that
Hmm.
they can, because a lot of people, when they go abroad, usually the majority of the money that you make, especially like for teachers in certain countries, let's say like in the Middle East or quite a few countries in Asia, Southeast Asia.
Hmm.
That because the Middle East is in Asia. For some of y'all who don't know, that is in Asia too, and they don't know they're in Asia. They're like, what? Asia's like you're in Asia too. But the real estate piece is something that they could get into as well because if they're saving like most of their salary, like you said, they can be putting in retirement, have their life insurance, but invest in that real estate and
Yeah.
have that making money from that too. So again, like you're just all around able to help them with just kind of like managing their finances and build their wealth at the same
They're
time.
well. Exactly.
Yeah, for that long life they're gonna live, even though they're gonna get the
Yes,
life.
I want to live long.
Okay, and so I would ask, like, what's your recommendation for them regarding life insurance then? Or did you, yeah.
Excuse me. Well, with life insurance, again, whole life is the way to go.
Okay.
You want to put something in place that's going to be in place. Then just, well, individual is going to determine on your situation. I suggest if your situation is perfect, I suggest the index life insurance policy. If not, there's a whole life. But irregardless, either one of those three or variable is good to go. Now, if your situation is a little strenuous and money is funny at this particular time, choose that analogy, then term is a good product. And we'll put that in place until you get to a point where you can get a whole life policy. But a whole life policy, regardless of which three you choose, is the best thing to go. It's going to cover you. Your loved ones are covered. Something happens, and we're abroad or within the States, you're covered. You're covered. And I did check on this. I don't know if it matters, but by working abroad, I know sometimes you get paid in different currencies.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a bank here in the U.S., you can basically have their money as you get paid, direct deposit, whatever, and that money goes to your account abroad. You can have automatic EFT or ACH to your American bank account, and basically you just get charged out of your bank account here for the exchange rate, and then use that account to pay for your life insurance, because you can't pay for it in euros, if, for instance, it has to be US dollars.
Okay. So that's good for them to know. And usually there are like people out there that can help them in terms of like what they need to do to transfer their money or exchange it. For those who are new, sometimes it takes, they may have to find out how, but there are people out there who can share. And then sometimes the companies do assist with that. Okay. And so that was a lot of power pack information.
Right.
And it didn't really take so long. I think you're giving them exactly what they need. You're like straight to the point. Okay, this is what it is. But the most important thing, I think, is what you said, is that they need to actually be able to connect with someone who's able to look at the individual factors and pieces that they have at play to determine the best plan that will fit them, because there's not really a one size fits all. Plan for everyone. Now they can check with people, they can ask, and again, I see people, I know that these are big topics to those who are abroad, because I see it online. Like I've seen it in the groups, people asking about retirement, or some people, they may not, but they don't think about it when they're abroad. So they need to connect with someone like you, and I would recommend they connect with you, because you have the experience and the expertise. You, like you mentioned, your own story of like what happened with your job and how you had to go through and find things. And now, after working in this field, this area for so long, with your other background experience, you know what you're doing, and you have the best interest of that person in mind when you're working with them. Okay, now. With that in mind, and again, there are like so many people out here, and I hope that you guys, listen to everything that Rashidi had to say, like now, or replay it again and share this. So if they are abroad and they don't know about these things, and those who haven't thought about it, and they see it, and they're getting ready to go abroad, how can they contact you in order to, connect and see what it is they need to do? How can they get started if they don't have these things in place?
Well, first, of course, it's email, and it's my name, Rashidi, RASHIDI.Jones@tfaconnect.com, as well as my cell phone, 404-932-9710. And I urge everyone, if you're looking to educate yourself, and that's what I'd like to do as well with anybody that I speak with, go to my website, my company website, let me say that, wealthwave360.com. And there are several videos that pertain to just education, Rule of 72, Swiss Army knife, active money management, what I spoke earlier about. And they're only 9-minute videos. They're not long if they're 9 minutes. So it's stuff that you can get education on. And when we do speak, if we do speak, you kind of already abreast of what I will be talking about.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. You guys should be able to see Rashidi's contact information going across the screen. And let's see if anyone had any questions, like while we're talking. You check down here. Oh, I see Michelle. She had went through, made some comments and responded to some people here. Let's see. Okay. I don't see any questions right now. However, those who will be watching the replay, maybe they'll have some, so we can go back and check the comments section then and respond. And they have your contact information to be able to reach out to you as well. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. We'll definitely have you back on again in the future.
Okay.
And yes, is there anything that you'd like to say? Any closing advice you want to share?
Well, one, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm not looking to, I guess, sell you a product. I'm looking to educate you. So if you just have a question, give me a call. Now, I enjoy educating people, enjoy people, gaining knowledge. And thank you again, Taiwanda, for having me on. I love to kind of speak specifics about certain other products to help educate people. And, hopefully, they get their retirement and their life insurance situation straight if they don't already have them straight.
Yes. So we can not, or at least so I won't have to see those stories when people share about the unfortunate things that happen. We have Rashidi, the wealth manager, here to help you with all of those things. And again, thank you, Rashidi, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, and for our viewers, we thank you guys for joining us as well. If you were with us live, and those of you who will be watching later on, thank you again for joining us. Remember, you can leave your questions or comments, and you can reach out to Rashidi through his contact information as well. And I want you to know that you can also find out more about me, or if you want to check some things out about what I'm doing, you can go to TaiwandaBason.com. Also on Facebook and Instagram at Taiwanda Bason. And I just look forward to having Rashidi back again, and the the other half of keeping
the better half.
Yes, she said that too. So two better halves.
She was talking about herself.
So we're looking forward to hearing more from Keeping Up with the Joneses, which we'll have them on in the future. And until then, guys, enjoy your day, your night, wherever you are. And remember, until you go, you'll never know. So see you guys.
See you later.